To today's call, the Stellar Development Foundation quarterly call for Q3 2020. We have a packed agenda today to show you what a really big Q3 for SDF with our very special guest who's joining us today, Jeremy Allaire, from the Chairman and CEO of Circle. She'll also share an overview of our Q3 highlights before turning it over to Justin Rice, who's on the call. He's our head of ecosystem at SDF, and he's going to provide details on our technology, updates, and overall network performance. And as well, he's going to share about the relaunch of the Stellar Community Fund. And then Lisa Nestor, our SDF senior strategist, she's going to touch on SDF's growing visibility and public engagement activities and the work we're doing to increase our involvement in the public policy dialogue and our preparations for Stellar's second annual conference, Meridian. And of course, we're going to leave some time at the end to answer any questions you have about today's presentation. You can submit those questions really throughout the presentation in the toolbar in the Q&A, but we'll take them at the end. And so now I am happy to turn it over to our CEO and Executive Director, Denelle Dixon.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello, everyone. As I usually am, I'm so excited to be here with you to talk today about our Q3 work and to share a big moment for the Stellar Network. So let's get into it. I'm joined today by Circle's Chairman and CEO, Jeremy Allaire, to announce that Stellar is now an official chain for USDC. Yay! Thanks, Jeremy, for coming. We're combining our strengths. USDC is one of the world's leading compliant and regulated digital dollar stablecoin, and Stellar as a mature network with an unparalleled ability to connect global financial infrastructure. And that's going to position us to offer USDC and Stellar users a new level of opportunity. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today and for our partnership together. I always enjoy talking with you, but today is special, and I want to spend some time on this call talking through the potential opportunity this brings for our respective organizations. So what does this mean for USDC, Jeremy?
Thank you. So I'm super excited to be here and really grateful for the partnership and the work that Stellar is doing with Center Consortium, which governs USDC, and then the specific partnership with Circle as well about bringing USDC on Stellar into Circle's platform services. I mean, I think just first at a high level, obviously, we launched USDC as part of Center Consortium with Coinbase about 2 years ago. And really the vision was that we could develop a standard and a protocol for fiat digital currency that would allow value exchange to happen in the same way that content and information exchange happen on the internet today. And that launched 2 years ago, and I think grew quite a bit in the first year and has grown significantly this year as well, about 500% growth. Reaching around 2.8 billion USDC in circulation today, and within the regulated compliant world of digital dollar stablecoins, by far the largest and fastest growing. I think the vision for us is we really want USDC as a protocol to be a standard that can be widely adopted across leading blockchain platforms. Earlier this year, Center Consortium announced this multi-chain initiative. And we had both Circle and Coinbase had a history of working with Stellar on different products and in different services. And as we looked at blockchains that have a mission and a focus on an open financial system, that have a mission and a focus on connecting more people everywhere to make more seamless payments possible, Stellar is a stellar example of that. And so. Very early on, began discussions about how we could do this. Now, as an official chain that is for USDC, there's a whole, I think, a fairly significant set of criteria to achieve that, which I think Stellar, has done. But what this effectively will mean is that USDC will be available as a digital currency on the Stellar blockchain. And then in particular as well, all of the underlying issuing services, the regulated reserve management behind it, and then a broad range of connectivity options to connect the existing banking system, the existing card networks, and others to be able to issue and redeem USDC on Stellar will also become available. And so from a developer perspective, if you're building applications and projects on the Stellar blockchain and you want to utilize USDC, it will be a token that's available, but there's also going to be an increasing number of options for how you can integrate US dollar-based fiat connectivity and associated services into that. So high level, that's what it kind of looks like and means.
Super exciting for us. I mean, USDC brings a new, strong, stable, and engaged USDC asset to Stellar for developers and for end users so that they can make transactions on the Stellar rails. And it also carries the advantage for us, at least, of having this deep global liquidity across countries and platforms. So this makes it an optimal asset for the Stellar network. And also I think that it's important. I always talk about this notion of having competition and innovation on the platform. And I think that this brings greater competition to Stellar by having multiple anchors in regions like the United States. And so it allows for growth and innovation for developers and businesses to leverage these assets and to create new compelling use cases that for retail and enterprise clients. So I really think that this drives the network forward to the next level and puts us at a really important position for growth on the network. So Jeremy, let's talk for a moment about the future opportunities. I think there's lots of questions all the time, and we've been engaged for several months now and talked about what this looks like. But I think people always want to know: is Center thinking about broadening the scope to other tokens based on global currencies?
Yeah, so Center Consortium, just for people who aren't familiar, is really designed to be a governance consortium, a standard setting consortium, and a community of firms that collaborate on actually building technology for broad-based fiat digital currency use around the world. And that mission was originally anchored in what I like to think of as digital asset markets use cases. Sort of the trading and markets use cases is now very much moving into the payments and settlement use cases. And as stablecoins move more into the payments and settlement use cases, not just in financial applications, but in commerce applications and others, that creates demand for a number of things. One is it creates demand for making sure that USDC can scale, that it can scale for payment use cases. And so that means obviously, working to bring USDC as a protocol and a money format to chains like Stellar. I think the second is that these standards and these protocols and all of the governance goes around them. That governance includes, what are the compliance requirements to become an issuer of a fiat digital token? What are the information security requirements to administer and operate a network that's based on that? What are the underlying reserve requirements, the regulatory and licensure requirements? There's a pretty robust set of governance and standards that exist there that Center has really set the bar on. In fact, this week, or in the last week, I should say, the Financial Stability Board issued its report for the G20 on regulatory recommendations for what they call global stablecoin arrangements. The idea being that these arrangements are kind of pulling together a lot of different members, constituents, financial institutions, and setting standards. And Center Consortium is actually really the only operational global stablecoin arrangement in the world today. Libra Association is seeking to do that as well. But as an arrangement that's building more and more focus on commerce and payments that are happening interoperably around the world, we know that individuals and businesses in countries all around the world are going to want to transact, and we see tremendous opportunities to take those governance standards, to take those common technology protocols and apply them to other fiat currencies. And so that's the long-winded answer of yes, Center Consortium does envision introducing other stablecoin implementations. And very likely seeing those come not from Circle or Coinbase, but other members who join Center Consortium and become issuers under the governance scheme. We may find an amazing company in Japan, for example, that wants to issue a yen stablecoin, and so on and so forth. And so It really is envisioned as this scheme and association that can grow as more and more stablecoin native payments and commerce takes place.
I mean, from our standpoint, I look at what you guys have built with Center, and then also obviously with Circle, and the shared mission of the financial inclusion and just really focusing on regional demand is something that's really important to, I think, both of us and the organizations that we lead. So it just makes me so happy that we were able to make this happen together. I also think that like just having USDC is going to open up even more opportunities and corridors. We already have some strong corridors open, but the anchor model that we've set up, this strengthens that model and creates opportunities for other use cases on Stellar, but also just for the anchors to become even stronger. So excited about this. I want to, Jeremy, I want to ask you if you could just stay on for a little bit into the Q&A section, because I know that we'll have some questions there. And I'm going to dive in for a few minutes into the Q3 highlights because it's and then we'll go through the rest of the agenda. So first, I want to say, I think we can all agree that 2020 hasn't been the year that many expected at the start. But in one important way, it has been living up to its promise for SDF and the Stellar network. We're in a stronger, more strategic position than ever before. I think the announcement we just made speaks to that, but also so does many of the accomplishments that we've done and accomplished this quarter. Our team has been heads down and hard at work delivering on our strategic roadmap, ensuring the robustness and usability of the Stellar network, being the blockchain that people know and trust, and fostering sustainable use case. Those are the pillars that we set out a year ago, and we're hyper-focused on ensuring that the work that we do lines up into those. We're gonna go into detail on each of these throughout the call, but I just wanna call out a few highlights here. To ensure the robustness and usability of Stellar, SDF's engineering team has devoted the bulk of this quarter to preparing important technical upgrades for both Stellar Core and for Horizon, Stellar's API. These upgrades introduce 2 new features that make it easier than ever for Stellar to connect to the world's financial infrastructure, and major improvements to the architecture of Horizon, Stellar's client-facing API server, and to drive higher performance. So Justin's going to talk more about that in just a few minutes. And we've also been really vocal, and it's sometimes hard because it's all over video, but we've been really vocal supporting our efforts to be the blockchain people know and trust, which is really important to us. This quarter, I had the honor to represent SDF at the U.S. House Financial Services Committee, the FinTech Task Force briefing called Blockchain Technology, Distilling its Functions in Financial Services. And Lisa Nestor is going to share a bit more about our external activities shortly. But before I hand things over, I want to spend a little more time on how we're working to foster sustainable use cases. Again, that's one of our pillars that we work towards and that we have our work lined up into. The USDC announcement is clearly one important way that we're doing that. But I want to talk a little bit more about the other ways we're focused on that and how it hinges on our work with anchors. So we talk about anchors a lot. You've probably heard me talk about them during each of these quarterly calls, and I talk about them almost every day at SDF meetings. Our SDF team hears me talk about them constantly because it is the foundational network for Stellar. It's the way to make Stellar really light up. They serve such an important role on the network. They help create the rails that connect global financial infrastructure. In Q3, we worked hand in hand with a number of African anchors to build new products and lay the foundations for future corridors, including Flutterwave, Cowrie, and ClickPesa. With Flutterwave this quarter, we've worked to enable cross-border flows both within Africa and across other continents, starting off with the launch of a West African franc, XOF stablecoin, and associated the on and off ramps as well. And we've also been engaged with ClickPesa, a fast-growing point-of-sale vendor with B2B payment platform in East Africa, to issue a Tanzanian shilling, Kenyan shilling, and Rwandan francs on Stellar and provide interoperability with mobile money. And finally, we continued our work with Cowrie Integrated Systems in Nigeria to open up additional B2B and C2C payment corridors with our other anchors. It's just really it's so awesome to see this happening and to see these corridors open up and light up. All of this progress helps us drive meaningful usage of Stellar, and really that's what our focus every time I talk about them is that they are really the glue that really pushes this network and holds it together so that all the other stuff can be built on top of it. So we're really interested in anchors in all regions, but we're particularly focused right now on Africa as well as in Latin America. We have Settle, who is an anchor that is expanding its anchor network in Latin America. And we're focused on Latin America in particular because of Vibrant, which is the wallet that is really launching in Argentina that one of our subsidiaries has built. So I think it's important for us to really think about anchors though as like this opportunity to, if there's, we put together a webinar on the benefits and the use cases for anchors. And we did that, I think last quarter or the quarter before, because we want to hear from you. We do outreach, but we also love to be responsive to folks who are interested in it. So we have a lot of stuff that Justin's team, as well as the marketing team, have put up on the website. So pay attention and check there, and just know that we're interested in all regions, particularly right now focused on Africa and LATAM.
Great, thanks. The next question here is for you, Jeremy. It's what exactly is the on and off ramp experience going to be for USDC on Stellar, or what can people expect? And is Circle targeting any new regions or markets for USDC?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with the second piece of the question and then come back to the first. On the second piece of the question, I think digital dollar stablecoins like USDC are very much global. And just if we look at the last year, we've seen USDC deployed and used all around the world in over 150 countries, and we see growth in demand not just in the US but in Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, Europe, Middle East. So it is already very global, and the user base of it is already very global. And I think there's a great deal, as Danielle mentioned, a great deal of alignment around this vision of how can this play a role in financial inclusion and empowering more people in regions around the world to be able to have access to stable value digital currencies. So very much a global focus. I think in terms of on and off ramps, I think we're going to see lots and lots of them created. The way that the partnership with Circle works in this is USDC for Stellar will be not just a supported token as a version of the protocol on the Stellar blockchain, but Circle offers a broad suite of what we call platform services to developers and businesses. And these include APIs for adding card payment acceptance, bank wire transfer acceptance, domestic bank transfer acceptance. And those then enable kind of instant conversion in and out of the existing kind of fiat rails and USDC. And so effectively, a developer that wants to add the ability to take a debit card and have that settle as USDC on Stellar and use it on the Stellar network can do that with just a couple of very straightforward API calls. So Circle itself is a platform service, and lots and lots of companies, B2B facing companies, B2C facing companies, fintechs, others can build on those services and integrate that fiat infrastructure with native Stellar support really easily. So I expect to see once this launches, a proliferation of wallet services, exchanges, others that are directly taking advantage of that. The other piece is, and it's worth noting, is one of the things that, as part of the multi-chain USDC initiative, Circle has introduced what we call the multi-chain USDC swap API. And that is a service that we're actually offering for free to authorized developers. So you have to kind of qualify for the program, but we expect it to be fairly broadly adopted. And what that allows for is it allows a developer, say you're a Stellar app developer and you want to create a way for people who might already have USDC to be able to instantly basically kind of bring it onto Stellar from an Ethereum token. It gives you an API to be able to do that, and vice versa. If you have a Stellar wallet and you're holding USDC on Stellar, it gives you the ability to say send that USDC to say a DeFi contract on Ethereum. And so that swap API is really powerful and creates some more seamless user experiences and interoperability as well, which is really key, because we do expect that there are many blockchains, and they need to have a common way for standards for fiat to kind of work across them. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to support, in addition to the on and off ramp API services that we provide to companies in the ecosystem.
Awesome. That's exciting. While I have you, a follow-up question, slightly related, but is how much USDC will be issued on the Stellar chain at the start, and what do you anticipate for the longer term?
Yeah, so it's a fairly easy answer, which is we don't control that. We ourselves as a financial market infrastructure company, as a financial institution, or Coinbase, similarly, we don't actually control the how much is issued. That's driven by demand. It's driven by people creating applications, businesses, et cetera. And so it's really going to be driven by people who are creating services that want to integrate this, and that can be even just using like the swap API. That can be a way for people to convert from existing USDC into Stellar USDC, and that can create issuance. So we don't really have a forecast like that. I mean, I think we're entering into these partnerships and creating these standards with a belief that there are really great ecosystems like the Stellar ecosystem that need this and want this for a variety of use cases, and that demand is what's going to drive issuance. But I think the key thing is that the kind of ability to access low cost, even for businesses, sort of free issuance and redemption services for USDC on Stellar will be there. And so that's really key. So the friction will be reduced significantly, and people will be able to take advantage of that.